Yeah, so I was born with dislocated hips and club feet. And so originally, right out of the gate, I had a bunch of surgeries where they were trying to do some corrective stuff. Originally, they pinned my hips, which lessened a lot of flexibility within my knees and my hips. And then with the club feet, they did some surgeries. Originally, my feet were turned in like this. They tried correcting them and straightening them out, and it didn't work, so they ended up fusing my ankles, basically taking my ankle out and fusing them so I didn't have any mobility, hoping that that would keep them straight. Growing up, everything was different than everybody else. For the first 2 years of my life, I wasn't able to walk around. I had a full body cast on. And so just kind of everything for me that normal kids would do, I wasn't able to do. As I got older, the doctors, explained to my parents that I'd never be able to walk and I wouldn't be able to do things without assistance. If I ever get to a spot where I'm walking around, I wouldn't be without braces, and I'd always have to have something on my legs to have more support. As I got older, of course, I started walking and running and doing things all the other kids did. I just did it a lot different. I just adapted to what I had. I was so young when the doctor said I can't do things. That didn't sink in for me. When I saw everybody else do things, I wanted to fit in with them and do what they did, so I just went ahead and did it. As I got older and going through school, it was super embarrassing going to school having leg braces on. If I wore shorts, I always felt like people would stare at them, and it made me a little self-conscious. And as I got older, I decided just to take them off and try to hide not wearing them. And as I got older, I ended up getting caught not wearing them. And the doctor explained to me that, if I continue this, there's a chance I could get hurt. Maybe be a chance that I wouldn't be able to walk again, but it's ultimately my decision, and from that day going forward, I never put on braces again. Yeah, in my mind, I kind of felt like if anybody can do something, people can do whatever they want, I can do it. And I made the decision when the doctors kind of gave me the opportunity to make up my own mind as far as not wearing them, just to forget it. And I would go based on feel. If things hurt, I always knew to take it a little easy. But for the most part, I just, right out of the gate, after stopped wearing the braces, I just went on and did everything that I usually did. Played basketball, ran, played sports, just did everything everybody else did. Yeah, having people see the disability, seeing that I'm obviously different than everybody else is difficult at times. You like to think that when you walk into a grocery store and some chick stares at you, you're like, oh, I'm really handsome. But sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes it's, she's looking at me because of the way that I walk. And at times it does get wearing. Especially times where you pull up Facebook and, somebody says, hey, hashtag no calves, and then somebody tears apart your video on YouTube, and you go to the gym and somebody talks shit to you at the gym, and so it wears on you a little bit. And you just kind of adapt and realize that some people are a little ignorant to what's going on, and know that you're working your ass off to be better and to train harder. Yeah, I think fighting through and adapting has always been something I've had to do. I think even at a young age, trying to do something maybe that is normal for other kids, but is going to be more difficult for me, just adapting to how I'm going to do it. You know, for instance, we talked about playing basketball. You know, it's something I really enjoy, but I know when I go out there and run around, I look funny. But I've adapted my mind to, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to have fun. I'm going to do it my way, even though it looks a little bit different. And it's the same thing in training. You know, there's some things that work for me that don't work for everybody else, and vice versa. And I've adapted my training to focus around what I'm working with my feet, not being able to touch the ground, being able to still press big weight, and you know, and be successful. So with some of the stuff that I can do versus what I can't, you know, I still train and do lower body stuff. I still squat. I understand that I'm never going to be, you know, a high level lifter squatting or deadlifting or be a full power lifter. But I still focus on that. I'm just not, I don't focus as much as I do with benching. With benching, you know, I look at the things that I can do, and you know, the momentum of the bar changing, and it's being different for me since I don't have leg drive versus for yourself. And the type of training that I do is all based around what is going to work for me based on the limitations that I have. When I was a sophomore in high school is when I first really started to think that I had a talent at lifting. I went to my first competition, and I was a raw lifter at the time. And I was in a teenage division, and I was lifting against guys in single ply bench press shirts, and I outlifted them in the raw division. And that's when I've always been really competitive, and that's when it really kind of dawned on me that maybe I have maybe a talent for lifting. It's something I certainly enjoyed, and I was able to push myself. I was able to see, you know, kind of the light at the end of the tunnel where we're looking for progress, not perfection. And it was a ton of fun. I've always had fun lifting since. You know, for me, with some of the obstacles that I've had and the differences in my training and breaking the world record the way that I did, it's gratifying when I see people make comments like, you know, I can't believe you did that, or what's wrong with this guy's legs, or, you know, they make these comments. It makes me feel good because they're looking at it and understanding that if they were in my position, they couldn't do it, and I did do it. And so to me, putting the task at hand was breaking the world record and doing it my way, and you know, not having my feet on the ground it was the best accomplishment that I've had. There are times where people are rude, and there's times when you know, you got to have thick skin, and especially when I post videos or pictures, sometimes I'll purposely crop out my legs so that they're not always in a picture. But you have to have thick skin because there's a lot of people out there that'll say things just to get a rise out of you. For me, you know, it probably took me until I was about 22 years old to realize that. You know, going through elementary school and middle school and high school, I got into a lot of fights with people because of, you know, them calling me names or you know, as soon as I felt like they were putting me down, I felt like I had to stand up and show them that I was better than them. And you know, as I get older, I realize that people are always going to say what they have to say, and there's nothing you could do about it. But I can promise that if they were put in my shoes, they would have quit a long time ago. I handled getting bullying through school, typically through fighting. You know, unfortunately, back, you know, through my generation, that's how you handle things like that is, hey, you know what, I'm stronger than you, or I'm tougher than you, and I'm gonna show you that. And then that person realizes what their place is in life. And obviously the generation that's coming up now, you know, they have this anti-bullying stuff, which is probably good. But some of that you need to be able to take some criticism. And some of the things that people say is just criticism. And you have to be able to take that and, like I said, have the thick skin and just kind of go about your business. You know, bullying during our generation was just part of life, and you bullied people and people bullied you, and that was just the way things happened. One of the things I'd like people to understand before they make ignorant comments is, one is maybe put yourself in those shoes. I mean, are you going to just give up just because you have a little bit of adversity? And you're not going to give up. You're going to keep fighting, and you're going to keep doing the things you love to do. And then secondly, you know, is just thinking about people that have all forms of disabilities, you know, from mental to physical, or, you know, whatever it is. You don't want to put them down because they're trying to do something, and instead encourage them. You know, it's kind of like the really overweight person that decides to go to the gym. You know, the first day of the gym, you don't call them a fat ass and tell them to quit. You know, you encourage them to keep doing it because they're trying to make what makes them happy. And I feel it's kind of the same way. Yeah, I feel some of the stuff that I went through, I'm a little less judgmental. I'm certainly as ignorant as the next person though, and I make comments about all kinds of things that I probably shouldn't say. I'm definitely not saying I'm above anybody else. But there are times where I think you need to look at everything that's in place and see what that person's dealing with. You know, talking about some of the people that lift in the Special Olympics, and the things they have to overcome just to train on a regular basis. A lot of people would just give up or not go to the gym because it'd be too difficult just to, you know, get to the gym or use crutches in the gym. You know, and those guys are doing it every single day. You know, I think for me, I've heard over and over and over, you can't, you won't, there's no way you can do this. And, you know, the biggest message is just to prove them wrong. And I have that mentality every time I go to a competition, is that there's somebody out there that's laughing at me as I walk up there saying, he's not going to be able to do this. And it fires me up, and I get pissed off, and I grind my teeth. And every time I lay down, I say, I'm going to prove somebody wrong today. I'm not saying that I remember everybody's comment, but I remember quite a few people's comments. And there's a lot of times I lay down to bench, or maybe I'm having a hard time getting through a workout, or I'm having a hard time making weight, and all I can think about is how happy that person would be if I failed. And they've made these comments in the past, and they don't want to see me succeed. So if I quit, I'm just playing into what they want, and it just fires me up. And there's been certainly times I've been in the steam room trying to cut weight for a competition and wanting to quit and think about that, and it's made it all a lot easier. Message I'd like to convey to somebody who is thinking about quitting or is going through some tough times and feel like the deck is stacked up against them is just to fight through it and just to prove everybody wrong, and just to find that one person in your life that matters to you, or maybe it's a group of people that matter to you, and show them that you can do it even when things are tough, when things are really hard, and it's not supposed to work out that way, but you're going to prove to them that you can do it and hopefully give them confidence to do something that they can't do. If I have a message for anybody that maybe is told not to do something, not to go to the gym or not to be active, is to do what makes you happy. And if what makes you happy is to get up and walk your dog or go to the gym and train hard, go play basketball, then go and do it. I've been told several times, you can't play basketball, it's too hard on your legs. Been told, don't lift with your legs, don't squat, don't deadlift. And I do it because that's what I want to do. It's what I enjoy doing. And you know, one day we're all going to die, and you better do what you do and enjoy it. I think for me, and seeing the progression of my bench is gratifying. I'm very happy with the way my lifting has gone, and you know, when we sat down and benched today, and you know, you're somebody that I've looked up to for a long time, and to see when I started lifting at a higher weight, I want to make it even a further distance, and that's kind of what fueled me to keep going. And it isn't to embarrass you or to say I'm stronger than you. It is just for me, it's that competition part of it. If I just want to be better, I want to keep going, and I want to be stronger, and to see that I'm able to do that at a competitive level in the world is very gratifying.
And I can't go back.
When I broke the all-time record, it kind of felt like all the stress of the world was lifted off of me for some time. You know, I was chasing that record for a long time, and it was really tough to get there. But I've always wanted to leave my mark on the sport. And the record before I broke it was broken in 1979 and has been held since until 2013 when I broke it. And so it was a legit record that had been sitting for a long time. And it was nice to know that this isn't something that had been broken several times, or maybe it's obtainable to just everyone. It's been sitting there for a really long time. And when I broke that record, lifting-wise, that was the best feeling that I've ever had lifting, as being able to say, I've done it, and there's nobody in the 220 weight class that lifts more than I do. Did I cry? Actually, I did. I got, when I heard the judge say racket, I put the bar in the uprights, and I kind of laid there for a second, kind of thinking, looking at my wrist straps and thinking that I have accomplished this. And I was doing fine up until, you know, I stood up and saw everybody standing up and cheering, and Courtney came over to me, and that's, you know, I started losing it, you know, started to cry. And, you know, of course, you know, I just sweat, wiped it up, and walked back to the warm-up room. You know, I didn't want, obviously, anybody to see that I was emotional over it, but I certainly was. To see an obstacle, feeling like it is so far away, but then accomplish it. I had really tried to break that record for a good 18 months, and it felt like for a long time I was really close. And to finally break the record is why it was so emotional. It took me so long, and I put so much into it. I mean, it meant a lot. so when I saw Courtney come up and give me a hug to congratulate me, seeing the look on her face, knowing that I was able to do something that nobody else thinks I could do, or maybe I shouldn't be able to do it, but I did it anyway, and I did it my way, and knowing that I made her proud, that everything that I put her through, everything I put my kids through, you know, the stuff that I put my body through was all worth it. Because at the end, I did what I wanted to accomplish and put myself number one.
Awesome.
For me, I think there's a handful of people that know how to push my buttons, and Chris Duffin is certainly one of them. And he knows exactly what to say to get me fired up, and his speech of "I can't" or "you're not good enough to do these things" really fires me up. And that's what really, hearing those things from him and having the support group with Courtney and guys like Garrett Griffin, talking to guys like Eric Spoto, and them being very encouraging of what I was doing, made it all possible for me to be able to break the all-time record. And now having Kahuta break my record, or however you say his name, you know, he broke it by a few pounds, and it makes me want it more. It makes me want to go and compete tomorrow and go for the record again to show him that I am stronger than him. Because ultimately that's what I want to do, is I want to prove to everybody that I'm stronger, not that I'm going to hold an all-time record for, you know, a year and that's it. Breaking an all-time record was something that meant a lot to me, but breaking a record and making it stand like Mike McDonald did and had that record for 30 years is exactly what I want to do. Yeah, I think in powerlifting, to everybody else in the community, it doesn't matter. I could bench 800 pounds tomorrow and about 4,000 people would care. But most importantly is that I'm showing my kids, I'm showing Courtney, I'm showing my mom and dad that everything that I've been put through, I can do it, and I can do it better than anybody else. And even though there are things I do differently, I'm absolutely going to compete with the best. And it's more of just the fire driven within inside of me than caring about maybe if 10,000 people care or only 5 people care.